Hello everyone, my name is Beth, and this presentation is going to discuss what multiliteracies are and how they can be incorporated in teaching and learning in the subject of PDHPE. So what are multiliteracies? The concept of multiliteracies was introduced by the New London Group in response to the rapid social, cultural, and technological changes that were occurring. They argued that the traditional approaches to literacy were insufficient and that the use of a multiliteracies approach achieves greater success for students. Using a multiliteracies approach recognizes the increasingly diverse ways we communicate in a modern society. It allows students to connect with content through linguistic, visual, audio, gestural, and spatial modes. Cope and Kalantzis discussed the shift from literacy alone, being able to read and write, to literacies, being able to interpret and use multiple forms of literacies, hence the term multiliteracies. A key component in multiliteracies is multimodality. Multimodality refers to the use of multiple modes at once to make meaning. For example, a learning task might be designed to include written, visual, and audio components. The New London Group described becoming multiliterate as vital for social futures and achieving success in employment. Multiliteracies also recognizes that meaning is shaped by social worlds. Social worlds refers to the context of cultural, social, and contextual environments, meaning that the same message does not necessarily mean the same meaning for each person. These social worlds influence how students interpret and create meaning. For example, a group of students watching a video may understand or interpret meaning differently based on their individual experiences, beliefs, or cultural background. A quote from John Dewey: "If we teach today's students as we taught yesterday, we rob them of tomorrow." So, how do we implement multiliteracies in PDHPE? The New London Group described designing as the process of shaping meaning. How can we implement this into the PDHPE classroom? Cope and Kalantzis reframed the concept of multiliteracies in a pedagogy of multiliteracies by describing how the learning process can be structured by teachers. This is known as the knowledge process. This model includes experiencing, conceptualizing, analyzing, and applying. Experiencing involves connecting learning to what students already know, as well as exposing them to new situations and contexts, the known and the new. Conceptualizing focuses on identifying and understanding key ideas, helping students name and make sense of what they are learning by naming and theorizing. Analyzing encourages students to examine information deeply, both functionally and critically. Applying involves using knowledge in a meaningful way, in familiar contexts or creatively in new contexts. This framework aligns with a multiliteracies approach as it supports students to engage with multiple modes, contexts, and ways of making meaning. There is no specific structure to implement them, but rather the framework should be used in an integrated way to implement a pedagogy of multiliteracies. So what does this look like in practice in a PDHPE class? And how can we implement multiliteracies in an innovative way in an already challenging profession? In a practical class, an example of multiliteracies being applied would be a volleyball skill analysis task. Students would film themselves performing a serve, then analyze footage and identify areas for improvement via a written template. They then give feedback to a classmate on how to improve their serve. This task uses multiple modes: visual through video, linguistic through explanation, spatial through the analysis of movement, and oral via verbal feedback. It also aligns with the knowledge process, experiencing the performance of the skill, conceptualizing the technique, analyzing their performance, and applying feedback to improve. Multiliteracies could also be related to the content of relationships, health, or body image, where students can be influencers by online interactions. This links to the concepts of social worlds, as students are constantly interacting with digital spaces and communities linked to these topics. Utilizing multiliteracies in this context could be linked to the idea described as participatory culture by Henry Jenkins. Participatory culture refers to how individuals actively create, share, and engage with technology and media. By recognizing these environments, teachers can better support students to be literate in multiple modes and digital environments. So, why incorporate a multiliteracies approach? Multimodal tasks are more interactive and creative, which can improve student engagement. It also connects learning to students' social worlds, making it more relevant, and it gives opportunity for deeper understanding and critical thinking for students. To summarise, multiliteracies reflects how communication now happens across multiple modes and social contexts. In PDHPE, this allows for more engaging, relevant learning connected to students' everyday lives. Ultimately, it supports students to think critically and communicate effectively in a digital world.